Welcome back to Primitive Organic Garden and Guitar. We're going to do a very quick tour of the garden since we haven't done that in, I don't know, probably a month. And then I'm going to make a shorter video on saving money on potting mix. You can see the crimson clover is starting to bloom. It's going to look really pretty. There's some individual plants in the backyard garden that are actually growing in really nice compost and living soil that are 3 times the size of these with many more blooms, but these are just sitting in the front yard, so they're not going to be the most vigorous clover plants, but they do look nice. The purple callards are flowering. This one looks particularly nice. I had 3 of these in a nice hedgerow. There's a leek popping up, and one of the little degenerates down the street took a tire iron to it last week, so now I have a new tire iron. Yeah, this one's just gorgeous. There's one in the back that's in the ground that's even larger. We'll look at that in a minute. This is my second little row of crimson clover that hasn't bloomed. Interesting. All this was recently lightly tilled. It's got a really awful dollarweed infestation because it's so close to the lawn. You can see all the dollarweed everywhere. Incredibly hard to get rid of. I mean, I don't irrigate this. It went all winter without really being watered. It was cover cropped heavily with carrots and daikons all winter. So I'm doing everything I could to keep the weed pressure down, but the dollarweed's just unbelievable. But yeah, so I went through and kind of lightly tilled it up to get all the dollarweed rhizomes out of there, and I thought I got them all. I spent probably 4 hours pulling dollarweed out of this, and I still have some popping up. But I tried to plant all things that are going to be fairly vigorous and handle some of the dollarweed competition. Got some moscatas here I think we looked at last week. I think these are both that Chinese variety that eventually forms like a small burgundy orange pumpkin, but they can also be eaten green as small little tender summer squashes. I stuck a couple tomatoes in here. I think there's a Brandywine yellow behind that mustard plant, and this is probably one of the mystery tomatoes. Another mystery tomato. Some cilantro and carrots that are still hanging on from winter. Most of the winter crops got pulled up when I pulled all the dollarweed out of here, but a handful were doing okay, and they weren't covered in dollarweed, so they got to stay. Some really cool purple sweet potatoes in the back. The outside border is going to be zinnias. The inside border is tomatillos alternated with sunflowers. The tomatillos are still close enough that they'll get the required cross-pollination, but every other plant is a sunflower, just for fun and so that it looks pretty. Giant leek there. You can see all the little zinnias popping up, and the dollarweed. I think there's a couple more winter squashes that I planted in here that are just now starting to pop. That's enough of this bed. Alright, let's go see what's in the backyard. This is another just awful plot of dollarweed that's got a few leeks that are doing well. There's a front porch garden too, but I think we can look at that later. There's not a whole lot going on other than some aloe and succulents. All these little tiny clay pots have zinnias and basil, and I think there's a few lettuces over on the end. But let's go look at more interesting things in the backyard. These are some tomatoes as well, mystery tomatoes. I think I probably have about 200 tomatoes left to plant. This callard here is over 2 years old. It's finally flowering, looks beautiful. Bees are enjoying it. Not much to see here, just a bunch of onions that are going to flower instead of making bulbs. Thanks, Lowe's. Some large fabric pots that are mainly full of winter stuff like bok choy and some chard. One little strawberry there. Not a whole lot to look at here. New mystery tomato in that bucket. Some more chard back there. Basanato dinosaur kale. Brandywine yellow that got really severely pruned by a heavy freeze. It's almost like I topped the plant. This is what's come back after frost. The main apical was killed by, I don't want to say frost, it was a hard freeze. More Swiss chard, some cilantro. This is all cilantro. It was spinach in here. I probably need to go ahead and chop this down and plant something else. It's just the cilantro border is really beautiful and I haven't cut it down yet. Maybe I'll let it flower. These collards are going to flower. Some dill, olive tree, another mystery tomato. Look at that. That is beautiful, isn't it? Big farm dog, little farm dog. That broccoli got eaten by a raccoon, that's what's left of it. But the raccoon doesn't seem to like the chard. Look at that, it's just gorgeous. I don't know if the intensity of the pink comes out in the video. Hey baby, hey baby. Some leeks. Another tray of tomatoes. These all look like Brandywine yellows, which are, for some reason, like heavy nitrogen feeders, which is somewhat uncommon for tomatoes. It is potato leaf variety. They tend to be a little more vigorous, in my opinion, and grow faster, but all of my potato leaf varieties that I'm doing this year seem to be growing fast and getting chlorotic quick. They seem like they need a lot of fertilizer. Some more leeks, more chard, potatoes in the potato box with the hinges, more leeks and dill. Look at that potato plant, that's doing great. A whole tray of onions, strawberries, lemon tree that just flowered last week, another winter squash, chard. And I really enjoy chard. More looking at it than anything else. It's good cooked too. Sometimes I eat small leaves raw in salads, but just the colors are really nice. The raccoon dug up all my beets, but it did not touch the chard leaves. I don't know if y'all can really appreciate how big these are. I mean, that's a chard leaf. I'm not sure I've seen chard leaves quite that big before. I mean, this one's the clear winter. You could use that as a burrito wrap. That leaf is bigger than both of my dogs. Dill, cilantro, carrots, collards, carrots that I put a cage around to keep raccoons out because the raccoon already dug up all the rest of them. Another tray of tomatoes, a few eggplants in here, more tomatoes, a couple more squashes. Maybe I have more than 200 tomatoes left to plant. We got a lot of tomatoes. That's a Brandywine yellow tomato. That's another mystery one back there. Those leaves look a little weird to me. Not sure what's going on there. Some more tomatoes. A tomato for a friend. This is just turned into a jungle of mint, but it's okay because it's apple mint. Raccoon got this broccoli, haven't replanted yet. Raccoon got the carrots the other day. Raccoon got those carrots. A lizard got caught in one of the sticky traps I put out for the raccoon. Ooh, that goji berry needs water. A lot of this needs to kind of be replanted. The tropical dwarf Tomatillo is just really impressive right now. It does require water almost every day. It's in this massive pot, and it's very thirsty recently. It's probably about to start flowering again. Pulled all the fruits from last year off of this little tangerine. Not super impressed with this one. This is another dwarf Tomatillo. This squash is the winner so far this year. I think this is just a yellow patty pan. Yeah, it's a yellow patty pan. It's doing great. This one's doing all right. These leeks are doing good. All these other squashes are struggling this year. We'll see what happens with this. I know this ground here is mostly clay. There's very little good soil. and there's a lot of mint in the ground. This squash is doing all right, but I've had to put tons of fertilizer on these. I'm constantly weeding around them. I'm hoping they start to be a little bit more self-sufficient soon. This row of carrots hasn't gotten eaten by the raccoon yet. There's some mustard and radishes in there. I'm way behind on harvesting these radishes. Most of them went to flower. Now they're turning into wood. This potato and onion bed is covered in annual ryegrass from all the seed I put down. I guess I accidentally got some seed in here, but it's too much grass to worry about. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. Hopefully it won't reduce the yields too much in here. Some more leeks. This bok choy needs to be chopped down, and this bucket needs to be replanted. These radishes need to be chopped down. That fabric pot needs to be replanted. Look at the crimson clover back here. That just makes me happy. There's some tomatoes in here. This is mostly onions. You can see some of them are bulbing up there. Onions, garlic, leeks. There's a little bit of cilantro. Look at that awesome blue Calard. Really happy with that one. I need to start eating some of these things. They're all flowering. Random volunteer parsnip. Some carrots in here. Garlic. And more purple tomatillos. These are obviously doing a lot better than the ones in the front yard, even though they're from the same tray. Those two look good. This one looks pretty good. These look really good. These did go through a light frost. They didn't have the hard freeze because they were in the greenhouse during the hard freeze, but they did get a light frost. I tried to cover a few of them. Most of them seem like they're all right. Some more there. I never pulled this radish up. What else? This is another purple tomatillo. You can see I got all the tomatillos fairly close together so that they can get their required cross-pollination. Giant, like 2 or 3 year old collard. You can see all the little clonal collards coming off the stem there. Some more clonal ones popping up from the root system. I'm going to try to keep that as a perennial. This is a Morris heading collard. Volunteer potato. More garlic, carrots. This tomato went through the hard freeze. It was covered, but it looked awful for a few weeks. It's just now starting to come back. Potato in another potato box. Random strawberry. Turnip. This lettuce here is getting outcompeted and shaded and just overall destroyed by this mustard that's gigantic and flowering. Wildflowers in a bucket. This is a tomato. I don't know why there's a random like cucumber popping up in here. That's not cool. Carrots, another tomato. This comfrey is a huge problem right now. These plants are only a year or two old and they've just completely taken over. I mean, this was like 1 or 2 plants and now it's an entire like 6 foot by 4 foot section of the raised bed that's just covered in comfrey. It grows really fast. I need to just start weed whacking it down on a regular basis, although it's kind of sad to do that because it's got these nice flowers that the bees love, and I hate weed whacking it down and not using it for something. You know, it's a good skin healing balm, but it grows too fast and there's too much of it. Here's another yellow Brandywine. This one's doing pretty good. Purple mustard. This is the back view of the onions and garlic. You can see that blue collard there. All these carrots got dug up by a raccoon. There were like 200 of them in here. I got hardly any. This needs to be replanted. Not sure with what. It's in deep shade almost the entire day. It's also bordered by English peas, sweet peas. So I need to plant something in here that'll tolerate shade. This potato in the shade's doing great. Oregano. It's spreading into this asparagus pot. There's the asparagus there. Some daikons that are left over from winter. Leeks. Big farm dog. And little farm dog. What are you eating? Oh, baby, don't eat that. I don't know what that is. Don't eat that. Stop. Stop eating stuff. I have no idea what you're eating. That looks gross. And now I'm worried. Need to figure out what that is. Stop! Stop! You're interrupting my video. Alright, we need to stop this video, but I am going to show you a couple things over here. Onions, potatoes. All these potatoes over here are volunteer. The onions I planted. Another tomato that got destroyed by frost. Purple calored flowering. Leek, flower box. Garlic, cilantro, red clover that's flowering. Another blue calored. Clay pot towers with zinnias. Clay pot tower with zinnia. My dog's name is Zinnia too. Potato, Brandywine yellow that's going to be the first to fruit this year. Bunch of corn there, looks like it's happy. I'm getting some wind damage today, but still happy corn. This is mostly carrots and arugula that was left from winter. Not sure what all these fabric pots are going to be. Garlic, sunchokes, and strawberries. Goji berry that's getting eaten by ryegrass, mystery tomato, some late corn, more carrots, crimson clover, and some onions that need to go so I can plant something else here. More red clover that's about to flower, strawberries, oregano, tomato, mystery tomatoes that are doing pretty good. These are in buckets. One of them's got some like disease symptoms, but everything else looks pretty good. Eggplant from last year, blue calored, carrots, regular cabbage collard thing, more leeks, loquat tree. That's all we really have time for because I got to figure out what Zinnia was just eating.